If I could infuse this into people, I think it would be that. Can failure make you more curious? I mean, yes, we raised 20 million, but I realized we spent 5 million just for our first server. Probably my investors would be very happy, even more happy than me, if I would have learned, or if I would have studied at CODE. Yeah. Like this kind of mindset, I think it's enormously important. And you might think, this is common knowledge and everybody does it that way, but it's not true.
It's so nice that you are here. Thanks for the time. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Maybe say a few words first to yourself.
I'm Rolf. I'm one of the founders of Trivago. I'm 48 years old. I founded a company. My first company I founded was in 1999. It was during the first big internet wave in Germany. Founded Chow.com, founded Trivago in 2005. We brought it to NASDAQ in 2016. I stepped down as the CEO in 2020, and I'm still in the board and still a major shareholder. Since then, I'm focusing on Brightspace, which is a community of entrepreneurs to evolve themselves and society. And I'm also a CODE trustee and very engaged into helping the university to evolve.
Also gonna talk a lot about that later on probably as well. So that's pretty nice. Also maybe to give a little bit of context, I think now you heard a bit of Rolf. Who are your hosts? Tim as well as me, we are both CODE alumni, actually studied at CODE University of Applied Sciences. So maybe could you point out or elaborate a little bit on what made you pursue that career in the first place, and also how were you able to start it, even to build such a massive company later on?
So actually my parents run a restaurant. Yeah, so I grew up in a restaurant, and my parents are the 5th generation, so I would have been the 6th generation. So my career path was pretty much already set. Yeah, so set in stone, really. So there was no question what I would do, so I would really take over the restaurant. And to be honest, going for business administration in the first place was really, okay, what can I convince my parents of? What can I convince my parents of, agreeing to? And I would have known that everything else would have been difficult. So I said, okay, I will study business administration. Maybe I can take over the restaurant later, which was kind of a trick. And and then what was very helpful was I was studying at a quite small university. And it was still kind of a startup back then. And because of that, I really had this feeling of okay, I can be part of a big family, which gave me the confidence of really trying things out. And so I really started my first company really right out of university. So I was still studying in my 3rd semester or so at that university. And it was really I think what the university back then opened. CODE didn't exist, unfortunately, so I studied at HHL, and what it really opened up for me was, okay, everything is possible, right? So it's just me, There's money out there. There's opportunities. There's other people that could potentially work for you, that you can convince of your idea, and everything is possible. And I didn't have that mindset before. So I think this mindset change was actually the most important thing I learned from university. So I, then I was about 23 and I started my first startup. We were starting Chow.com. It was back in the days, it was I think the best finance startup in Europe, or at least one of the best finance startups. I don't know, we collected in half a year or so 20 million euro.
For that time, that's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, for that time, for guys who were 25 and 23 years old, and for the first half year, that was quite good.
But what was Ciao.com about? Like for the people who don't know it.
We were the first. It's really hard to imagine today, but back in the days there were not like consumer reviews were not existing, right? So nobody would write reviews, and we were the first portal where you would write reviews, right? So you'd write reviews, you would be able to research about products, any kind of products, and we would aggregating all of that, I left the company very quickly because of all the money that came in, investors really owned a lot of the company at the end. Markets went down, very high liquidation preferences. Never a good combination. Please think, if you're founding a company, think about that before. And so this combination is really difficult. And I was in that time, I was actually quite cocky. So I was really like, whatever, I just started the next thing, everything I touch will be gold, no problem. And so I gave away all of my shares, which was quite stupid because later on the company really got sold to Microsoft for $500 million. But so I gave away all the shares and said no problem, I'll just do the next thing. And which was completely stupid because, I tried the next thing, it didn't work out. I tried the next thing, it didn't work out. So I really had a couple of failures. I thought, okay, probably I'm not an entrepreneur, so maybe I started my career in education. So I really started to do my PhD, and until which I never finished. Then my dad wanted to hire me back for the restaurant. I thought maybe okay, that's a good idea at the end, until he fired me.
Whoa.
really true. He really fired me.
Sounds like the Steve Jobs story where he got kicked out of his own company.
Yeah, kind of. And then I was really broke. And in this situation, it was 2005. I came up with the idea for Trivago, and I asked my 2 colleagues from university if they would join me. One of them is also today chairman at CODE, Stefan Stubner, and asked them if they would start Trivago with me. Yeah.
Rest is history. What is the biggest success that you could say about Trivago? I think it went into become a massive company later on, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think what was really cool that we were able to scale it without a lot of money. So we never really needed a lot of financing. So we were really able to grow it out of cash flows and build a company which had, in the peak, $1 billion in revenue, around 10 billion in marketplace revenue, and I don't know, 6 billion valuation or so in the peak. But yeah, no, I think what I'm really proud of is that we really were able to build a culture where a lot of people really like to work there, where we were able to evolve people in their role. We had a very, very young crew. I mean, back in the days, I think even shortly before the IPO, I think our average age was 26 or 27.
Wow, for such a massive company, that's crazy.
People were back then?
1,600.
That's crazy.
So I think we really created a lot of energy, and we were able to really also. I see a lot of people, ex-alumni of Trivago, so I see them in really big companies, still writing in their LinkedIn profile ex-Trivago, which is quite cool. So I think we really created a lot of energy. Yeah.
And how or what were the criteria you were looking for while hiring people? Because I mean, you said they were really young, but what were you looking for there?
Yeah, actually, also it was quite important. So I think like independent thinkers, right?
Okay.
That was something that was really important for us. People who were able to go their own path, right? And we're not always like insecure and looking what others were doing and orienting towards others, right? Because we really wanted to build a company with 1,600 entrepreneurs in the company. And of course, this is never really possible, right? So but I think for us it was important to at the margin reach that, right? So really at the margin have the people who are the most entrepreneurial, who really can think themselves, create themselves, take decisions for themselves, because nothing is slower than a system where you have to go up the line to take a decision, right? It's incredibly slow when you have to move up like 1, 2, 3 layers, right? So ideally decisions are taken from everybody takes a decision themselves, right? But you have to be able to do that. You have to be confident enough to do that. And so we really try to hire for entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Where would you get such people from? Because I think like looking at classic universities, for example, it's pretty tough possibly due to the educational system.
Yeah. It's very tough. And again, CODE didn't exist, right? So I think we were really focusing on finding different kinds of profiles, because like you have to identify independent thinkers. They usually don't go the standard paths, right? They don't go for the thing that is the most prestigious or the safe thing to do, right? So like we always looked at people and said, okay, do they take a decision that is not safe? But where we can see they take that decision because they really want, to discover something for themselves. They really want to make a new experience or so, right? So they do something that is not the standard, right? And they don't care if it looks good or not, right? So these were the kind of profiles we're looking for.
Okay. And how did you manage that in the company itself? Because when you have so many independent thinkers, bring them together for one vision and align them that everything works,
Yeah, you need a lot of inner work actually. So you need a lot of people really have to work with themselves, right? So if you have a lot of egos together, that's a problem. But it's not about But if you evolve their egos, so if you really make them work together as a team, if you keep them humble, being humble is a really important part of your culture, right? And if you being like analytical is like really like important part of your culture, where it's not about status, where it's not about rank or whatsoever, but where it's really about people finding the best solution, finding the right arguments, right? If you don't care like who delivers the argument and where the argument is coming from, but it just is it the better argument or not, right? These are things where you really you keep people humble in a way, right? And people really have to work on themselves, right? And you don't bring people up in the hierarchy. You don't bring people up that are not able to do that. You're not bringing people up who are looking for status, who are looking for external validation, and so on and so on. But you bring those people up who can humbly hold other people in their role, right?
Now, because also many of the visitors here are here because they want to hear about kind of the future of education, what kind of path should they choose. Looking back at you studying at HHL in Leipzig, how would you say how much did that study program or that university education help you in your later entrepreneurial success and in your life?
Yeah, so I think, like as I said, right, the most important thing was really mindset change for me, because it was like HHL was not was more like a master, right? Like it was the second half of my Diplom-Kaufmann. So I studied before at another university in Essen, and I think what I did, I learned about business administration, but I didn't really learn, that really everything is possible, right? I didn't learn like that it's up to me to, to make things happen. So I think this kind of change to really think big and really think it's possible, even for a guy, who grew up in a restaurant in Mönchengladbach, could reach whatever you want to reach if it just, it's just up to you. I think that is something that was probably the most important. And then really, I think being together with other people who constantly challenge the status quo, right? So really working together, like the other students, not like professors also, right? But that I would think is the third most important thing. But the second most important thing was really being able to work with these amazing people together in working groups. We also back in the days we had some projects and so on. Not in the extent that you do it here, but we this was really cool to work in projects and to have these people around us. And because today I think it's a bit different, right? Because when you look at the HHL, it's a very established business school, right? So it attracts a bit more of those people who are quite going the safe way in a way. Back in the days it was different, right? Because it was quite young, it was new and so on, and people who were going there, they were really entrepreneurial. So it was really cool to work with these other entrepreneurs, and a lot of those people that I studied with, they became entrepreneurs themselves, right?
Mm. And when also Sam Altman got this question kind of in the podcast, is what skills would you say young people should gain in these days to be successful in whatever successful means in today's world?
That's a very interesting question, right? Because I think we are in a really, really very, very fundamental shift right now, and I think it really will be difficult for all of us to work for another company. I think a lot of these jobs, for us as knowledge workers, in which that field we are here, and probably most of you who are in the chat today, I think we as knowledge workers, I think a lot of us, a lot of the jobs we are doing, they will not be existing in a couple of years, I'm pretty sure. And maybe new jobs will exist, but a lot of this will not exist. So I think it's really, really hard to prepare for it. And I think that's why I think it's maybe a contradiction that you think in this moment, take care of yourself. So the question is for me, what do you have inside of you? What do you want to bring in the world? And how can you best scale yourself in a way that you are able to bring it into the world? Because that is unique to you. Whatever you have inside of you, can be a business, can be an idea, can be, I don't know, a new party or whatsoever, right? Whatever's in art, whatever's in you, right? But how can you bring this into life? Because this is unique to you. I think we cannot trust that we can still work for somebody else, but we can bring out what's in us, right? And I think what can we learn that enables us to do that? What can we really learn to enables us to bring what we have inside of us into life?
What would you say is that? It's a question anyone might be interested in.
Yeah. I think for me, I think it's a combination. Yeah. I think it's the obvious thing is that I think we will, we have an enormous opportunity out there, right? I think with AI, we have an enormous opportunity that we are able to scale ourselves indefinitely in a way. Mm-hmm. So, without a lot of resources. Let me make an example, right? When I started Trivago, I had to, we put the first server into a rack, right? And we had to install it, and we have to set everything up. It was super, super complex, and so on, right? And nobody needs to do that today anymore, right? Because it's very simple access, right? So it made how technology progressed made it a lot easier for us. So today people are way better able to scale themselves. And in this difference that happened maybe in the last 20 years, now multiplied by 10, that will happen in the next 5 years probably, right? So we will be able to scale ourselves in a massive way, but still we have to create something out of ourselves, right? So it's not it's not nobody will wait for us, right? So we have to create it out of ourselves, but then through technology we can scale ourselves. So the question for me is, how do we learn the stuff that makes it? How do we learn the tool to be able to scale ourselves, right? And I think that's a very, very important part, right? And that is a bit more practical part. The other part is, if we scale ourselves, right, let's scale the right thing. Really. and it's really important to work with ourselves, right? So what I said before, like the inner work that I did with people at Trivago, right? So I think that it will become even more important because we can scale all the shit, right, in us, or we scale the good stuff in us, right? I mean, we have to be able to differentiate that, right? So like inner skills, like really learning to, learn more about ourselves, like where's our motivation coming from? Like how do we like get rid of our biases that we have, right? That will make us even more efficient in the future, right? So I think it's a combination, and I think that the second part is also important. Now we sit in the forest, it's also fine. I think we have seen our faces long enough. This is great.
Then we take the forest. Maybe on that, like, because you're saying you need to work on different skills than it's used to be before. Maybe on that note, what do you think is wrong with the current education system in that sense? Because, or do you think the
Everything.
current? Okay.
Everything is wrong. No, really, like everything is wrong. It's really insane. I mean, and there is a continuum, right? But when you go for let's say the stereotypical classical education system, I think I don't know, like, probably I would close most of it down. Like really, I mean, the question is really like, ask yourself, what is really university like giving you besides what, I don't know, today ChatGPT can give you, right? So are you not really like better off to learn with ChatGPT, in a lot of situations? Like just from university, I don't speaking about peer, I don't speaking about what you get from other students and so on and so on. That's very important part, right, of the experience. But just from an educational perspective, right, like just what people in front of you teach to you, right? So I think that part gets less and less important, and the problem is also we are in an exponential curve of where knowledge gets outdated very, very, very quickly.
Do you think traditional universities can adapt to that?
How?
Yeah.
Like how? Like how can and everything changes, right? So like how, really ask yourself, like how can a traditional university adapt to that? Like I spoke to a small, very agile university, right, lately, and the professor there, he wanted to start a new Studiengang, like
Study path.
study program, and amazing content, completely right with what he said, right? I completely agreed to that stuff that he wanted to do is the right thing to do, and he said, if I'm lucky, maybe we can make this happen until 2029. Yeah. So and we can have the first students, which is 4 years from now, right? I mean.
But why?
Yeah, because you have to go through a lot of, jump through a lot of loops and so on, and you have until you can make this happen and so on, right? So I think like CODE now did the master program in half a year, right? But that's insane, right? So that usually doesn't happen. Yeah, and this was an agile university, right? I think, and so I think it's really, really like this. Let's stop that, right? It will not be about educating people in a way where we know it from the past, right? So we have to go to a co-creative process, right? And we have to see, like, what is really relevant, like what is really relevant in education? What can still be relevant 5 years from now? And I think it's more the processes that we hold, the structure that we give, rather than the content. The content needs to be very, very, very fluent and very adapting very, very quickly. But how can we create processes, structures, values, like ways of how we come together, ways of how we're holding each other, how we communicate with each other, right? That will be the essence. Things that make us truly human. What makes us truly human? What makes us unique compared to an AI? I think that will be what we have to go for, right? And it's truly human competencies. Yeah.
You think you're well prepared for that? on a traditional university then? Do you learn that in any sense? Have you seen any university doing that?
No, I a couple of years ago, like I remember 4 years ago or so, I got quite an honor from HHL. So they were giving me a prize or something, and we were making a big event out of it, and I was there, of course, apparently, and they asked me to do a speech, and actually I said, I see this is probably what we need to do. And to be honest, I have not in the traditional environment. I have not seen it. I have not seen the movement. And
so you told them what they should do to build the future of education.
I told them. they weren't really interested so much. No, that's not true. No, sorry, no, that's not true. They were interested. Yeah. They still didn't do it, right? Yeah. So they were like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's that's amazing. We should do that. We should start with it tomorrow, but it never happened. And I think that, and we we can't do that anymore. If we want really to seriously educate the next generation of entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs, sorry, that's bullshit. Of humans, whatever they do, right? We can't sit there and say oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it maybe in 5 years from now. Yeah. So we don't have the time. We as if we see us as an educational system, we don't have that luxury anymore to think about that stuff for 5 years.
So going from what's broken with the current system, going to a potential solution. You're today here also because you're a big supporter of CODE University. There used to be the logo on the screen.
You don't need that.
Which is a real university after all, but it is unlike any other university most of also the visitors here might know. Could you explain a little bit why you believe that, and also many other entrepreneurs and successful people and knowledgeable people say, why they support CODE so much, why you support CODE so much, and not even your own former university so much, and going even as far as saying you once said CODE might be the last relevant university someday.
I hope it's different, to be honest. No. I mean, I'm a big supporter of CODE because I think it's, for me, like a lighthouse. It can be a lighthouse that can also induce change in the larger community, right? And so I would hope that others are joining in.
I think it's happening already. This
at one point. So I'm not the person who's like, oh, I want to have it all for myself, right? So no, but I would hope others are joining in. But yeah, I'm supporting because I think it needs a lighthouse that does it differently, and I see that it could be, it could be CODE. This lighthouse could be CODE. And it's still early. I think we are still in an early phase. I think we're still in the beginning of here what we build together. But I feel a lot of things come together here. So first of all, I think that when Tom founded the university, I think he really co-created with his co-founders, with Manuel, with Jonathan, they co-created a very unique culture that I feel is here. So you feel it's not something that is created on a whiteboard, with people strategically putting, numbers together. But there is there is a founder and there is a cause and there is something, that's larger than us where it's coming from, right? And you feel that. And I think that people who study here, even years later, and maybe some of them don't even know the founders anymore, they still feel this culture. They still feel the core of it. They still feel the energy of it. And that makes CODE already very different from other universities. And that's also, every time when I'm here, I feel that. I feel this kind of builder attitude, right? So people want to create something. They are interested. They're not, carried through a program. They go through it. They're interested in it. So it's a very different vibe to it. So I think, and I wouldn't underestimate how important that vibe is that was initially created. And then I think it's we're having a university which I think can operate in the like in the crossroads of like entrepreneurship. But don't get me wrong, like I think when people speak about entrepreneurship, they only think about like, I know, VC-backed finance startups or whatsoever. That's not what I'm speaking about, right? When I'm speaking about entrepreneurship, it's really about, can you create something out of yourself in the world? And if you want to do this as an artist or as or you want to do this and create a company or a movement or whatsoever, this is from the entrepreneurship, right? So I have a very holistic idea of entrepreneurship. But like in this crossroads of creating, right, and technology, right? And there is nothing, I don't see any, for this alone, right? I don't see any university in Germany that is really in the crossroads of these two, right? So you have this classical, more tech-oriented university, probably usually more old school, larger, slower, and so on. Or you have like these business schools. And in the business schools, at least my experience with the people from there, and I know them quite well, is that there's no sense for technology and for using technology as a tool to create, right? And I think that is really, really unique to CODE. And then I really think that from the very beginning, there was a sense, kind of this sense of holistical thinking in CODE as well. So it was not just this targeted on, like it's only business and only technology, but there was a very holistical thinking, like, very, very diverse group of people. There was more than that, right? And then I think it's really the good thing is we are still small, so this university is really, really agile, right? And I think there is currently nothing more important than your ability to change. Like for human beings, for organizations, for countries, for the world. There's nothing more important than your ability to change and adapt right now. Because we are just in such a hyper, like, accelerating, like, environment that it's just very, very important that we can learn, right? And I think there is no other university that can learn that fast.
Why?
I think it's a combination really of, size, right? So first of all, we are not yet that big. It gets harder, right? It gets always harder when you're bigger. But like, do you remember when I said like the people that we hired, at Trivago, they were these kind of independent thinkers? I think we have that vibe here. We have a vibe of building, of trying, of, being okay to do something and fail with it, and so on and so on. I feel that vibe, and I think that's so important for learning. If you're looking just around yourself all the time and you're trying to orient yourself to others, you will not learn that fast, and you also will not. The problem is if you orient outside constantly. When something happens wrong to you, what do you blame it on? Who do you blame it on?
Outside.
The others, right? So in the moment when you are moving forward as an independent, and you take it on you, right? You take it on you, take all the blame on you, and so on, and you fail, it's hard because you have to take it all on you. But the amazing thing is you can learn so much faster from it. Yeah, and I think that's why I see, okay, this environment, I see a big potential, and that's why I'm so engaged. That's why I'm really fighting for it, and that I'm really kind of it's because I really truly believe that this will be an incredibly important thing to have in the future.
What would you say, what kind of role does also the style of studying here at CODE play to you? Because just for anyone that doesn't know that, studying at CODE is unlike any other university. It's not like looking at a book, just listening to a lecture, remembering everything and puking it out again at an exam, but rather it's really applying the stuff and learning on the go with mentors, with peers, with the way that you favor it the most.
Yes. Isn't that insane already? Like that we really say like this is something really which makes CODE unique, Yeah. And yes, it makes CODE unique, but isn't it that insanity at this, Like because like my daughter is 3.5 years old, She is in a Montessori kita.
Yeah.
It's not that Montessori has been invented yesterday, right? So like project-based learning, is out there for a while, and like how long do we take to, because it's proven, right? I mean, it's proven that people just learn way better when they can apply it, right? When they can work on a project together, when they acquire knowledge to solve a problem, and not acquire knowledge without a real problem, right? So we know that, but we don't know that since yesterday. We know that since 100 years, but it still takes time to apply because our educational system is not built that way, right? So yes, I think it's important. I think it's insane that this is a differentiation, and it's really bad for all the universities out there. But yes, this is also a part, right? And also, I mean, not only to work in projects, but not creating just projects for a project's sake. Not creating but what I see a lot, and you know better than me, right? But what I see a lot at CODE is that really people pick projects. Sometimes they start their company already, and they pick up projects from this company to solve, here with their mentors, with their professors, and so on and so on. And they do that already, right? So they don't create something for the lab. They create something that is out there in the world, right? And that is, of course, the motivation to really kind of learn for that is even higher, of course. Yeah. So I think it's important this project-based learning is important, but it's also important to apply it directly into an ecosystem.
You always mention ecosystem when I talk with you. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, how important is that one for you? For me, when I joined CODE, that was a huge bonus because I want to be in that tech startup, possibly ecosystem, also of Berlin.
Let's say yes, creators ecosystem, right? Because there is really a lot more than startups in Berlin, right? So it's not only about startups. It's really but you have a lot of really great organizations. You have great non-profit organizations, and so on and so on. You have that all here in Berlin, and I think we can be an enabler platform for that, right? So we can enable students here at CODE to have access to all of that. Get to know, and people be able to create your own thing. But also, even if it's not your own thing, you can still get very early into other people's thing, right? And co-create it, right? So I think you don't have to be always only an entrepreneur, right? But you get into an entrepreneurial ecosystem where you really feel you can make an impact. And I think that that's at least what I see from CODE students. They all want to make an impact, at least. Now, it's not about only the shell. It's not about only making money. It's not about only, it's also, it's about, creating something in the world that's not there yet.
Would you say this learning concept is something for everyone?
No, I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's really, I think it's important. I think it's important, as well as I said that for our people at Trivago, right? This kind of really, can you think for yourself? So are you liking environments where you can just orient yourself, or can you think for yourself? Or do you at least have the potential to do that, right? So because, and I know, sometimes I was also, when I was 18 or 19, maybe I wasn't as independent as I was with 25 or so, right? So I think there is, of course, an evolution in that. And still, I think it's important that you want, you want to take it in your own hands. So I think this very initial thing of do you want to take things into your own hands, or do you want them to be decided for you, and you want to be led through things, and so on and so on. So I really think it's more about the people who really want to take it in their own hands. Yeah.
Would you say that the fact that at CODE here we study way more practically and apply things, and also there's a different mindset cultivated, that makes people more successful later on? whatever success might mean?
I think there's a combination. So I think there is a combination of first of all we attract a specific group of people already, that I think are more likely to create something meaningful. Let me say it like this, right? Because success is always like a very empty word, but like create something meaningful. I think there is a difference in the people we attract. There is a difference in the people that I think selected. Also, I think in the selection, I think that's also an important part. And then, I think what happens here, yes, I think like getting together with other people who think it's possible makes yourself more believe it's possible. That's at least my experience. Yeah. And so yes, and that is an advancement, right? So this is something that the university does, and then of course you learn tools that empower you to create stuff more easily, faster. You learn how you can work with other people together to apply it. You get all the contacts. You get all I tell you, like for me, when I initially like came into that ecosystem, also HHL was not connected to that ecosystem as much, right? And I think it was very scary for me to talk to, it's scary to talk to fellow entrepreneurs, or like not fellow, but like those entrepreneurs, right, who were out there in the days and who already had started something. That was quite scary to approach them. I didn't know their world at all. I was not connected to them. I'd never met them, and so on and so on. It was scary to write to them. I mean, I tell you, luckily, because it was quite early, a lot of them answered us. A lot of them were happy to talk, but it was quite scary. But I think having a platform like CODE, where you really get in contact with those people constantly, yeah. So I mean, we had there was a LinkedIn campaign today. Of CODE, so maybe you can also see it when you go into LinkedIn.
Check out CODE on LinkedIn.
Check out CODE on LinkedIn. You already saw it on LinkedIn. Yeah. And they were like, I don't know, there were 50 and more like really landmark entrepreneurs, German entrepreneurs who said they would have loved to study at CODE, right?
Even some that studied at other really...
No, even those who started at very prestigious universities, including myself, we all said, no, we would have studied at CODE, right? Yeah. And that's I'm saying, like how close these people are if you are at CODE, and how I think and again we are just at the beginning, and I think this will be like evolved and will be much stronger in the future as well. Also to get them even more here to share the experiences and to work with CODE students and so on. Yeah. But yeah.
I think it was also really valuable from a student standpoint to get like these first-hand experiences from people that collected already vast amount of experiences firsthand. I mean, I still remember a legendary marketing lecture by Roland Fassauer, where he walked into the lecture, and this is for anyone also a very good example of like the learning style that happens here sometimes, or mostly. And he said, hey, my friends, my students, you don't learn marketing from books, but by actually doing it. So he gave each of us 200 euros from his credit card to spend on literally ads on any platform we like. And he shared his knowledge about, like, he spent probably tens of millions on marketing already, and he shared his high-level concepts on what we should look at. And later, in order to pass the module, we had to give him a pitch about the results, like we would do in the real world anyways, to our customers, investors, or bosses in our company when we were employed somewhere. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very beautiful example, right? So it's and it's a very, like, probably a very easy class to prepare as a professor. But it's, but I don't want to say that this was one of the reasons, but no, it's amazing, right? So so we need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we took away a lot from it.
Yeah. Should we maybe go over to? I think there were a lot of questions from the audience.
Yeah, we're gonna skip over to the Q&A, so to now switch from the fixed part to the interactive part. Maybe one important note, otherwise we're gonna do this thing for 10 hours now probably. Please keep your questions relevant to career path, studies, and or code if you're interested into code. We can also, as alumni sitting here, can also give you a bit of a glimpse of a student perspective here. So yeah, best if you just raise your hand, or and then as soon as it's your turn, we're gonna either you can speak or we read out your question from the chat.
Andrachitsi, sorry for mispronouncing it, but yeah, give us your question.
Hi, I'm Anza. I'm a software student at South Africa. So my question is that, let's just say, imagine you were to start Trivago today. You're a 19-year-old broke and you just have free Wi-Fi in the dream. What could be your first move? And my second question is, if you could inject a skill in one skill or mindset into every young developer brain today that could help them win in the next decade, what would it be? Thank you.
So first of all, I was very lucky with Trivago that because I was able to already scale it with quite little resources. When I started it, it was really that I taught myself coding and I coded it myself, and installed the server myself, brought it live, right? So, and that was quite different than my fellow business students would have done it back in the days, right? Because they would maybe have hired a person and raised money and so on and so on. And what I see is rather a progress in that development, where I would say, like, today, before I would think about like how can I finance myself, before I would think about who can I hire, I would really think about how can I maximum scale myself, because there is so much possible today, even for yourself. So I would, and I see that. So you can just do a lot yourself, because you have to have the first person that you hire. And that is so much closer. So what you can do is like the amount of things that you can do before you have to start cooperating or start hiring or have to start to spend the first money, basically, have built the first structures. There's so much more that you can do just yourself. So really question yourself, like, what can I just do, and how can I in a maximum way scale myself, and it's quite insane. So I see a lot of solo entrepreneurs today that create companies that are enormously valuable. Yeah. And if you have, like you said, an engineer, right? So if you have already that a bit of understanding, that's even more empowering. And you asked for mindset. I think you learn this as an engineer. You learn this pretty, at least when I was still engineering. Today it's maybe different, but when I was still engineering, you learn this pretty quickly, that you fail all the time, right? You write 5 lines of code and it doesn't work, and and then we write the next 5 lines and it doesn't work, and then you debug and you try again and so on. So you're kind of this process of like I'm failing with something, right? And this is, I think it's very, very important. I think this kind of like, okay, I go into something and it doesn't work, and I change something and I make it work, and it still doesn't work enough, and I change something and I make it work more. Like this kind of mindset, I think it's enormously important. And and you might think, this is common knowledge and everybody does it that way, but it's not true. A lot of people get really by seeing failure, seeing something not working, they're getting discouraged. And I think I got always more curious. And I think that's a different mindset. So I got curious by failure. I got like, oh wow, okay, why? There's something not like, the world is different than I thought. Let me change, And I think if I could infuse this into people, I think it would be that. Can failure make you more curious? Right?
Nice. Maybe let's take now a question from the chat, so we always mix it up. So there's the question from Olivia. What about AI taking over creative fields? So is it recommended to invest time into understanding AI?
I think both is, I think yes. So I think AI is taking over creative fields, and that's why it's so important to understand it, right? So I think, yes, I think it's really important to understand how it's working, so I think I can make it work for me. Because I think there will always be jobs that will at the peak of where we can make it work for us, right? So like, because at the end it will work for us, right? But we have to find out how we can best make it work for us. I think doing the same that the AI is doing, I think I wouldn't engage in that.
Yeah.
But how, like in this position where it's like, okay, how can we make the AI work for us? That's the important position. And I think that's important to learn.
Nice.
Maybe next question we can take from Nick.
Yeah. Nick, next question from you.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for your points. I completely agree with you that in 5 years or even less, it's more about how we come together and what makes us truly human compared to AI. But my question is, doesn't this actually mean that today, maybe more than ever, we should study the humanities and arts to deepen exactly those human qualities instead of, let's say, following economic knowledge that becomes outdated faster and faster? Thanks.
I think both ways. You are right, actually. I think both is important. So I see like one movement towards. I think these I recently talked to my niece about like career path, right? And I also said that actually. So I said there's these two paths actually that I see. So either we go into something that's very, very far away from like anything more like, economic or whatsoever, creation, all of that. So where it's really about like fields that are very disconnected, and where we learn these kind of abilities, like truly human capabilities. So I think that is one path. So, and I don't say it's wrong. I just don't. I think also these paths lack a lot of innovation and education, right? So that's the problem with it. It's not the path. It's just the problem that, I don't see a lot of innovation happening there. And I think, and then the other path is, creation. Like the other path is, do you want to create something in the world, right? And can you accelerate yourself through the AI, right? And I think that's the other path. The other path is, if you want to really create something in the world, right? Like, how can I accelerate like what I have inside myself to bring it into the world? And that's the other path. So I agree, I think, and there's a lot of things I would not study, definitely not study anymore, even whatever happens, right? I don't know, and generally economics is probably one of them, and law is another, yeah. As long as it's not focused on creation, right? As long as it's not really like about, okay, like how can I really apply it into something? It doesn't make sense to do it just for acquiring this kind of knowledge, It's not about learning how Porter's 5 forces work, right? That is not that important anymore. It's a question of the systemic thinking that is behind it and how you can apply it to a very, very recent kind of situation. Yeah.
Next question from the chat. What side do we go?
Yeah. So next question from the chat would be, what skills do you believe will be most important for future entrepreneurs in an increasingly automated world?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said already that for me it's two paths. I think the one path is to really learn to apply tools that can maximize me. So I think that is very, very important. And the other thing is to work with this instrument here, right? So how can we work with this instrument? How can we maximize the not output, but like how can we really understand this better, so that we can create something meaningful. You know, I think these two things are probably the most important things. So like really understanding ourselves better, learning how to, that includes everything like learning to work with others, relate to others, sense others, right? All of this is very, very important. And then like, okay, but then you need tools. When you know yourself, when you know how to work with others, you need tools, right? And learning about these tools is very important.
Would you say in a classic university you learn to collaborate with others enough? Because I think here it was pretty cool working in interdisciplinary teams. But if I think about friends that studied a normal one,
I mean, I didn't really feel it when I studied in a classical university. So my first part, I saw it more at HHL because we work more in teams, but not to the extent that you do it here, right? So I see a big advantage, right? And I see education rather in the role of facilitating that process of collaboration and so on, and then infusing knowledge when needed, but rather, you know, how can we facilitate the process of learning from each other.
Okay, so next one, from your perspective as a supporter of CODE, how do you see the university continuing to support its students after graduation, especially those navigating uncertain career paths or launching startups?
I mean, you are alumni, so like, how do you think about it?
Like there's multiple things, but what I learned at CODE mostly is just to be adaptive actually, because the way you learn here, also in a way, of course, you learn a lot of useful tools and methods, as I described earlier in the marketing module with Roland Fassauer, but you also just learn how to learn new things really quickly in a safe environment, and how to experiment and iterate if things fail. I mean, this is really something that is here cultivated here, that you reflect on things, on the outcome of things. If they're successful or not, doesn't really matter, but you reflect on them and learn from them. And I think this is certainly something on a meta level that I have got. And the second thing is certainly what you said earlier, the ecosystem and the network of people, because I started 2018, the second ever cohort of this university. Back then it was still not sure if it even survives as a startup, right? And what came out of my batch in terms of what they've built could be companies, but can also be vastly different things, is just crazy. And having all these people in my contact list, and being able to reach out to them in a strong network, and also the network to all these other people like you as the supporters, is certainly one of the most valuable things that I have gotten out of it.
Yeah. And I would also say, like you mentioned earlier, the mindset of, like you said, adaptability, but also if like problems are coming up, how to face these problems. And this kind of also means adapt to it. But this is really something I really learned here, of like, okay, a problem comes up. Okay, I have different options to solve the problem, but it's not the end of the world. So problems are really a good thing, and learning how to use these to even grow. So also like mindset shift, and also like community is like insane.
I think to be honest, I think there's probably even more we could do with the existing network and with the alumni that we have, and I think it's also good to admit that, because I think there's so much opportunity out there, so many things that we can still do better. Because and it's not because we don't want to do them, but it's just I think the university is still so young, and there's still so much to do. So I think the alumni network is definitely something. I mean, to be honest, probably we don't have as much, at least structured alumni network as, I don't know, WHU has, for example, or something. But I think there is what is existing is a very, very strong culture that I feel like, and I also sometimes meet other alumni, like when, at dinners or whatsoever. And so there's a very strong culture of like, we share this experience of CODE. We are kind of we help each other, right?
Yeah.
So and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of peer-to-peer learning. I mean, alumni also since become an asset and are still kind of, you know, touchable by people. For example, my profession, meanwhile, is marketing pretty deep, and I've had so many people reach out to me over the, you know, last time, current code students that have the projects and would like to know, you know, about the marketing knowledge that I acquired over the last, I don't know, 7 years or so. So I think this is also pretty valuable.
Yeah. Okay, next question. I think it's Remus time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So my name is Remus, and my question would be that how do you balance work, learning, and your personal development? And with personal development, I just mean in a physical and mental way.
So I can consider that also a very important part of my learning. So because I said work, learning, and inner development, or my own mental and physical development. For me, it's like it's really important, and you would probably consider me at the very far end of like the, you know, like if I you know, probably I would say like 50% of my work I invest into my own development, and 50% I invest into output. Yeah. So it's not like, I would say like a normal employed person or even a normal entrepreneur or so, I would rather say it's probably 10-90 or something. For me, it's probably 50-50. And I still consider it as very productive. You know, because I think that this is for me the most important thing I can do is really like, you know, optimize this in a way. And it's probably, for me, it's probably like 70-80% more on the mental side and 20% on the physical side. Could be probably a bit more physical, but yeah, no, I think this is, for me, it's very, very important. Like, it's very important for me to constantly learn, constantly question myself, give me enough room for it. So I think it's very important for me.
Thank you.
Question from the chat. Mathis?
Mathis asks, do you need a certain degree or average grade to be able to study at CODE? For example, could someone who did not go to a high school, gymnasium, study at CODE if she have coding experience? So first of all, CODE is not about coding per se, because just because the name is CODE, it actually stands for curiosity-driven education. So you don't need any coding experience prior, and after all, you don't need any prior experience anyways, because after all, that's why you study in the first place as well. And of course, there's some requirements in Germany to be eligible to study in the first place by law. However, that doesn't mean that you necessarily need a German high school degree from a gymnasium. For anyone else, that's kind of comparable to the A-levels from other countries, for example. There's also other ways to be eligible, but it's a pretty broad and specific topic. So if you have questions regarding that, or anyone having questions regarding that, then best if you talk to the admissions team.
All right, then next question, Eren. You can unmute yourself and give us your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you a lot for the input so far. My question would be, with AI on the rise, what do you believe that is its actual potential? Because we hear a lot coming from OpenAI, we hear a lot coming from Google, and people hyping up AI. And I mean, it's really amazing. I'm building my own company right now. What would you recommend focusing on in terms of AI when you build your own company or build a professional career? For instance, are you at Trivago considering implementation of AI, or do you have any experience with that where you could maybe give me a recommendation for it?
Could you just, sorry, I think I missed the point. Could you just like rephrase it for me?
Yeah.
Your question?
So basically, if what would you say, what we should focus on as, for example, all startup builders on AI, in terms of AI? What should we know about it? How should we use it? Do you maybe have any experience with it, or do you have any experience on using it, for example, at Trivago or CODE?
I think probably I need to repeat what I said before. So for me, it's really, probably for me, I would go as far as I would always say AI first, in a way. So whatever you do, you try to do it with AI first. Right? So that is like, and then if you feel like, okay, I cannot do it through AI, then you think about how can I make it work, right? But that is actually like what I like tell people to do, right? So like, okay, first you use the tool that scales you the most, and then you see like, what can I not do with AI, and then but that's usually not how most people operate, to be honest. So I think it's quite difficult to make people operate like this. But for me, it's really AI first.
Maybe one question to hook into, pulling back to the educational system. Isn't it funny when you say that? At the same time, at any normal university, they punish you if you use any AI tool.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, the next one would be like, what would you have done differently if you actually did study at CODE?
What would I have done differently if I would have studied at CODE? So I think I said before that I didn't feel that I really had a platform that had access to an ecosystem, right? Also, I had to go through a pretty tough time in my life because I was not able to build things myself. So, like in my first startup, I mean, yes, we raised 20 million, but I realized we spent 5 million just for our first server. 10K and 10K, and so Sun Microsystem server, whatever. Anyway, so we spent a lot of money for tech consultants who told us how to lead tech people that we didn't understand, and absolutely insane, right? So like, at the end I learned all of it. So after my Chow experience, I was able to code, I was able to write SQL, understand databases, and so on and so on, because I learned it on the hard way. Because at the end I paid consultants who were costing a lot of money, and they were also not doing it. So I had to learn it the hard way. I had the chance to learn it the hard way with spending a lot of money, right? I think there would be an easier way today.
Fair enough. Okay, next one.
So probably my investors would be very happy, even more happy than me, if I would have learned, or if I would have studied at CODE. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, next one, Moritz.
Hello, my name is Moritz, and my question is, CODE offers 3 bachelor's degree programs. If you could add a 4th, what would it be called, and what would its core content be? Thanks, Ed.
You're talking about a bachelor? Because it got a 4th program as the master.
Yeah, the master is the fourth one, yeah, it's true.
Interesting. I wonder, I mean, I wouldn't have a catchy title for now. I wonder if there is something that would give, first of all, that would go rather more in the like holistic entrepreneurship. So I don't know if you need a specific study program for it, but I realize that yes, the question is the study program how we have it today, is it really like really targeted for maybe for people who also want to start non-profit organizations, or who want to become artists or activists or whatsoever. So maybe something that is a bit more holistic, and maybe I would also maybe look for something that is a bit more into this kind of inner competency direction, right? I think that we can put that also into our current programs, but you could also, if you want to, you could also put that in a specific program. So maybe it's an aspect that I would overweight for the future a bit more within the existing ones or adding a new one.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Moritz, what would you want to see?
Definitely something including AI, like you talked about it very much, and maybe combining AI and business administration in some form. We already see that in some models, some countries they are testing it, putting AI in the business administration and testing if AI could be a good leader. Maybe that.
But I would consider that as part of what.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned it, because I've also heard from someone that went to another uni to study some AI data science or something, and I was like, what the heck? AI is part of the curriculum here, and you're more than welcome to also use AI at many places here. So for example, talking about how to build an AI model or whatsoever, even back in 2018 when I joined and the big AI boom didn't start yet, that's, in that broad sense, there are people doing AI modules in software engineering, for example, and build their own image recognition models before they were commonplace, for example. And also in the entrepreneurship program that I personally studied in, there's a lot of, these things integrated as well. I think we just didn't slash a fancy name on it yet. Maybe we'll also not do that.
Just AI is missing in the name.
No. I think it's important.
Good feedback, actually.
No, I think important. It's an important question to be able to clarify it. Because I think sometimes for us it would be like asking code about AI. For me, is a little bit like asking a fish about the water it swims in.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's there. Obviously it's there. So for me, it's not. But it's important, of course. Like sometimes because for the external people, it's maybe it's not so visible, right?
Yeah,
so maybe it's a good feedback.
Very good feedback. Thank you. Okay, then let's go on with the next one. With ongoing layoffs in the tech industry and increasing job market volatility, what real opportunities exist for new graduates or career switchers looking to enter the startup scene?
Be as close as possible to creators. Be a creator yourself, or be as close as possible to creators, and you will always have a job.
What's the best way to do so? Aside from joining code, or is it joining code?
Yeah, I mean, that is one big chance that you have, right? It's really be close to creators. But somebody asking me, like somebody from Trivago asked me that question, like because exactly that question. And I told him gave him exactly that answer, right? So try to involve yourself early on into organizations, because that's the situation where you have the maximum capability to scale yourself through technology tools, right? The problem is when you're somewhere starting in a big company, the problem is it's really hard to really create out of yourself. You are part of a big structure, right? The larger the company is, the less agile it is, and the less it's able to change. The harder, the more disruptive the changes will be in it. So either the company will die completely, or parts of the company will die, right? So because whatever doesn't adapt will die, So I say this since a long time, and nobody believed me. Nowadays, people believe me more. We will see all of these companies dying sooner or later because they're just not able to adapt fast enough. And so if you want to work for a company, if you want to work for somebody who's able to adapt quickly. That's my advice.
Nice. Then Nicole, it's your turn.
Hi there, am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, greetings to everybody. I'm from South Africa, and I have just learned that you guys offer a lot of hands-on experience for the students at CODE, which is something a lot of us students look for, because, big classes, they are not that hands-on. You're just taking in books and spilling it back out. However, I do have a question. Do you guys on campus and stuff offer such things like hackathons or startup incubators and entrepreneurial support?
Yes, actually. So like 2 weeks ago, we had like a big hackathon here over 3 days. Then on the 1st of August until the 8th, we have the Sum Up program, which is kind of like a long hackathon for startups and also for individuals who just want to build something with prize money, with also mentoring from people. So we have all of that.
There's
so
also investors joining.
Investors joining. So if you manage to come to Berlin in this time, you're more than welcome to join. We can send the link in the chat as well. So these are happening regularly, and also they are happening in the summer break. Even though we have a summer break, there are still things going on here.
People building things.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
Maybe lastly to point out, the whole study program is like a big hackathon, what I like to say. Because literally we had on Friday, Open Campus Day, I think last week, and we kind of made the program just a hackathon. It was just a hackathon because we thought, what better way to show students, prospects that are interested into code, because people oftentimes have a hard time grasping it, how things work here, by just doing it. I mean, that is the whole attitude here. So you will hack things together, not necessarily meaning you need to code, but you will build things during your whole study program.
Yeah, we just sent the link in the chat, so for everyone, feel free to check out and join.
Yeah.
Okay, next. You're welcome. Next question would be: your child has finished school and asked you, "What should I do for a career, or should I go to college?" What would you recommend to your child, especially in light of your statement that many professors will no longer exist in the near future? Professions, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I said it. I think it's, I said like really going. I mean, do something. Either you want to go in the way of like, I want to create something in this world, and then you have to. I think you have to go for applying AI. So if you want to, and it's really nearly everything, really, yeah, you have to learn to apply it. But maybe also not. And if you don't want to do that, have fun. Ideally do both, have fun while applying AI, but if that's not what you want to do, the only thing I can tell you is, go to university, but don't go to the lectures. And have fun with your fellow students and enjoy. Really, because I and learn the stuff that you want to learn yourself at home, right? So that's for me, that is the other way to go, right? So it's either really learn to apply it, really learn and work on it and create something yourself, or just go and have fun.
Funny, because I think this was also the main kind of idea why Tom and the co-founders founded CODE, like meaning curiosity-driven education. It's about just following what sparks your curiosity and not following something that the person in front of you tells you to do.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
And that is also going to like, okay, should we learn something that is truly human? We spoke about that before, right? Going into arts, or yes, do it and have fun with it, right? And we might end up in a world, hopefully, we end up in a world of abundance, right? And in that world, it's also okay to play the piano.
Yeah, definitely.
Next question from...
Okay, next question.
Oh, interesting.
Ebenezer. I hope I pronounced it right. I'm sorry if not.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm from Ethiopia, that is east of Africa. And I just wanted to know what the difference really is between studying in code and studying like in the Ivy Leagues like Stanford and so on. I just wanted to get the gist of it.
Yeah, a funny thing to point out, CODE has a partnership with Stanford.
It's the only German university who has it.
That connects it to the Valley. However, I mean, I did not study at Ivy League school in the United States, but
I neither know. I mean, I didn't study it, but I employed a lot of people from these universities, and so I only have second-hand knowledge. Yeah, to be honest. So I never studied it in Stanford or in one of the Ivy League universities. I think two things I would point out where I would give CODE a very good chance to be better. So I really think that this kind of very, very project-driven, curiosity-driven learning is we do to an extent that I've not heard from in another university. So really this curiosity-driven, like project-based learning is very, I think it's different. And the other thing is, I think because Stanford is quite big university, I think they're not adapting that fast. So I think like if you want stuff to be relevant that you learn, want to be relevant not only this year but next year and 2 years and 3 years, I think that you have a higher chance here.
Yeah. There's also the question, I think it already answers this a bit, like what would you say is the main difference to the WHU? What makes you a better option?
And one thing, for example, I heard that there are a couple of students in Stanford, and they were really best of class in Stanford, right? So it's really like
Yeah. Maybe Ebenezer, can you mute yourself again, so that we can go on with the next questions?
Okay. I'm sorry, but can I ask one question?
Quick one.
Okay, thank you. So, why do you think that the normal way of teaching students, like the normal universities do, is not enough for the job sector anymore?
I think it's already not enough today. Full stop. So I think it's not enough today. That's my experience. Definitely when it comes to engineering schools. I think that people don't learn really what's necessary. That's my first-hand experience from hiring people, and that's bad news because they will not have time to catch up. They're not educating people today, and the skill set that you need to know develops in a way faster pace than how I see these universities developing, and that's a problem.
Cool. Great. Thank you. Could you mute yourself, please, so we don't have any background sounds?
Thank you.
Thanks. So just should we quickly read out that? What would you say is the?
We already had it.
Okay. All right.
The main difference to the WHU?
Yeah. No, we didn't really. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Quickly grasp on it.
Yeah. I think WHU is there's so many international people, so you don't know. It's like a very prestigious business school in Germany. It's like like a Harvard thing in Germany, and there are very students from there. Like two important things. First of all, I said that before. I rather perceive the students coming from there as insecure overachievers instead of and that is very helpful if you're in a corporate job. I think it's not so helpful when you're an entrepreneur. So I feel that CODE students are way more confident in themselves, and that enables them to go out, fail, and do stuff themselves. So that's why I also didn't hire so many people from WHU, for example. And the second thing is they're just very far away from AI and technology. So very far.
Very nice
question.
Yeah. Maybe we can.
Maybe one from the audience here.
From the audience, yeah.
I wanted to ask, would you rather start something new now, or would you rather join something that is at the start?
So just for anyone in the chat that didn't, in the meeting that didn't hear it, would Rolf rather start something new right now or join something from the start?
You know what? Like, I think it's not even that important. I think the important part is be there from the start, right? So I think that you have the chance. So my experience is even if you're not the founder, even if you're joining like early, you have the chance to really like create, like something in the world, right? And you really have the experience of creating something yourself. And so I don't think if it's important if you're the first or the fifth, right? But being involved in that early stage makes really different to being employed at Siemens. Yeah.
Okay. The next one would be Sebastian.
Hello, I have a few questions. So first question is the differences between interaction design and product management Bachelor of Arts at CODE, and especially like focusing on the psychology part in interaction design. And the other question is it possible to work on your own startups while studying at CODE? Thank you.
That's actually encouraged and actually a good. I personally did it, and we even got investor money back then from Axel Springer and Porsche, and they of course required us to work full time at our thing, and still I was able to do my modules. It did not distract me from building things. Instead, it helped me build the things I cared about and build my startup. So this was pretty cool. And differences between product management or the entrepreneurship program and interaction design, it is very close to each other, honestly, especially if you pursue a startup career as far as I saw it back then, because I did both programs. I did modules from both programs a lot. Because I found it pretty helpful, and you have the freedom here to do so. Just because you select this one as your study program doesn't mean you cannot do modules from other programs. Far from that. You're pretty free and choose what you're interested in. I mean, after all, that's like the whole concept. I think interaction design is just also a bit more, aside from all the psychology parts, I think there's a big overlap to the product management module, and there's also some mandatory modules that are in both programs. But the interaction design program is just a bit more, in that design space where you learn other things in the end than the product management module. But best if you just take a look at a module handbook of what's available and what kind of learning tracks you can go down if you want to do. I think that's helps a lot.
Yeah, and also because seeing the next question as well is interested in software engineering and business management, entrepreneurship, wants to do both. The nice thing about CODE is in the first semester is orientation semester, where you go into each study program and learn a bit of everything, and you can then still afterwards decide which path you want to further go on. And you can still do modules, for example, if you then decide you want to do software engineering, for example, you can still take modules from the other study path. This is not a problem. It's you have at least one module you have to do from the others. But you can still take more. I think you had a lot of other modules.
Did a double bachelor actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's people that did double bachelors because there's big overlap, and you just follow your curiosity actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Then next one, Khalid, Khalid.
Hello, I'm Khalid. So I've been thinking about applying for engineering, software engineering in CODE, and I'm wondering if there's any particular skills or skill set I need or certification I need before applying for it. And on your website, I saw that the tuition costs $150 a month, and I'm wondering if there could be an option to pay per semester instead.
Yeah. First of all, regarding the requirements to study, because earlier someone also asked about grades. Grades don't matter at all. CODE is looking for the best motivated people, talents, with ambitions that want to have an impact. Regarding the requirements, of course, you need to be formally eligible to study in Germany as well. And again, if you want to check that out, best if you just apply with your documents. The admissions team will take a look at it and give you feedback. Regarding the finance, I'm really thankful that it is not the case that CODE is just a private university for rich people or kids of rich families. Quite the opposite, because anyone can study here. If you cannot afford the 1,150 euros tuition fee and pay it directly to the bank, then there's alternatives. For example, many people I know also took the pay later option to basically, Tim, you did it, for example. You pay back, instead of paying tuition fees right away, after graduating, you pay back a share of your income, being roughly 30%. And if you 13, sorry, one tree to make that clear. And if you earn over a certain threshold. I don't know anyone from CODE that earns below that threshold, but there is also safety net included, but maybe you can share a bit of your experience on that as well.
Yeah, so basically it gave me also the option to study here, even though I didn't have the money. And I think it's a great way to then pay back the money when earning it. We now also, there's now the option to have this called ISA, for 1 year, like the first year, and then you can also have for all the 3 years, which makes it so attractive. Only have it 1 year. After 1 year, a lot of CODE students already working in startups or anywhere, or doing their own stuff, and then you earn a lot of money sometimes already, and then you don't have the 3 years to pay back, only the 1 year, but you can still do the 3 years. So it's in the end possible for everyone to study here at CODE. This is not a problem.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, then can you come to CODE without already having an idea of what kind of startup you want to start or be part of? Of course, you're more than welcome. You will find a lot of ideas here as well, but you will find people who have ideas. You can join them. You develop your own ideas. You don't need an idea. It's more about like learning here and maybe joining some, and so you don't need anything. Okay, then next, Aaron.
Yes, hi. Since you both are alumni from CODE, and I guess you are already working too, so I would like to ask, what were the highlights of your current job, or if you are working in a startup, what were the highlights there, and how did the knowledge or the impact from CODE help you with that highlight?
Could you specify what you mean with highlights?
For example, just an example, let's say you are working in the business development of some company, and you increase the revenue by 10% in structuring the ads in a certain way. And did you learn it kind of from CODE? So how did CODE distribute the highlights you had, any kind of highlight or success you had at your startup or job afterwards, after CODE?
Okay, hard to grasp the question, but I like the marketing tagline, like so many % revenue lift. I personally, I'm a startup founder myself. That was also one of the reasons why I joined CODE back then, because I was already running a startup beforehand, and I was looking for an opportunity to study while still continue building my thing, and also, evolving and learning more about building, because I was earning money back then already, but it was just pure luck, honestly. And here at CODE, I kind of just learned literally the hard skills of how to do things. I think the marketing lecture that I mentioned earlier was a good example of where I learned how to run proper marketing. But I also learned way more on a higher meta level, being to collaborate in teams, because I was a solo entrepreneur back then, and suddenly at CODE I did study project based in teams, and later on also founded a startup with more than one co-founder, being me, and hired people. And I think the knowledge that I got here from CODE was really helpful in that, and we were supported by it. And after all, I think the most valuable asset that I got was just even the chances to learn and try out myself, because I was also working a lot for not only CODE founded startups, but also with companies that know someone from CODE. So I got introduction and was working for them in marketing, for example. If you want to get some numbers, I helped, for example, one of the CODE startups, Superchat, go from roughly 1 million to 10 million in annual revenue doing their ads, literally. And I did only get that opportunity to manage all the ad spend. Also, they had to spend because I was at CODE and I knew the founder and they knew what I'm in. So I think this also, was really helpful in my career to just being able to apply that knowledge like in a real world scenario with a lot of kind of pressure, in a sense that you can really have a lever in and your actions really matter. And I learned so much from it so far that today I feel like I have the playbook. If I have like an idea and want to execute it, I feel so confident in what to do as step number 1, 2, 3, compared to looking back when I started and we were building our startup here, we were just fools with laptops in our hands. I mean, we're still, but at least we know what we're doing, kind of.
A little bit more than back then, yeah.
One question from name not available.
Okay, then the person whose name is not available, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sorry for that. I don't know why I didn't pick up my name. So my name is Patricia. I'm joining from Vienna, Austria.
Nice.
And I'm in the situation where I've done a finance master's and I've built a career in the corporate and the NGO world. And now I finally convinced myself to quit it and to look into founding my own startup. And I'm now thinking, whether to go back to a university or CODE university and, study again, or if I can do it without studying. And I guess my question is there any possibilities for people like me to maybe connect with the CODE group of people, even when you might decide not to study there? I came up with this question because you mentioned earlier that hackathons are available for everyone. So are there any other opportunities to connect?
I mean, yeah, the hackathons, the Summer Up program, which we have. So if you want to do your startup, this is the perfect opportunity. We just send it in the chat again, so you can just sign up there. There you get to know a lot of people.
Luma events calendar.
Yeah. So we have also a calendar on Luma where you can see a lot of events which take place, where you can get to know people.
And at the same time, to be really, I think it's very polite, and I think it's also possible. If I would be you, I would just still apply, to be honest. I think because even if you're saying even if you're in an early stage of starting your startup, I think the foundation that you can get here, the connections that you can get, and everything. I think it's still worth it, and you basically, while creating your startup, you get kind of very low cost kind of consultancy.
Yeah.
Really, okay, it's tuition, you can even pay back later, and then for that you're getting free consultancy from the best experts, you're working with the best people. Come on. Really, I would definitely apply. I'm not sure if you get in, but try to apply, take the chance,
Yeah, thanks.
Best answer to give. Okay, next one. What do you separately think about the future of business administration, BWL, computer science, informatics, and business information technology, Wirtschaftsinformatik? Which is the best, if you could say so?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think these are like, if you really name them for me, all of them are dinosaurs that are on the brink of dying out. The meteor already hit. The shockwave didn't reach them. So it's. No, it's really true, and now it sounds weird because I'm part of a university which educates it, but it does it in a different way. So I'm just saying that because when you frame it like this, it's kind of the traditional kind of the knowledge from it and the traditional ways of teaching it. And I think we really, I would not study at a normal university. I would not study BWL again. I would also not study computer science how it's taught there. As computer science, I would not study that. I think it's a really different thing if you study it to build, if you study it to create, if you study it in the way that you study it here. If you also rather study the tools, you study the mindset, and so on. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Study it like it's shown in a classical university, like, and you can add law and you can add many others. I think it doesn't make sense anymore, to be honest.
Okay, clear answer.
Aaron is next.
Aaron, go ahead.
Yes, to see if I caught it right. So you have a startup in marketing, right? And the question was also for you, Tim, how you also had a highlight that you had impact from CODE. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe to give you also my highlight, I'm also in the marketing space and also advising some startups also from CODE actually. And maybe one moment to name if when I came in and looked at how they were doing advertising, and then I told them how to do it, and then it lowered the lead price, like I think at least half of it. So this is one moment maybe with a real number on it to tell, and this was only possible to learn while being at CODE, and also in the legendary marketing lecture we had with Roland, which told a story we always tell. So this is maybe one specific moment.
Okay, so you both are in the marketing scene.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Okay.
Sure. Question from Matisha in the chat.
Yes, while pursuing a degree or master's, are internships or industry placements part of the program structure or supported externally? I'd like to gain hands-on experience alongside the learning curve. So we don't have mandatory internships, but you can do it in the summer break. Me, for example, I started 2020. In the end of 2020, and I did my first internship in the summer at Superchat actually, where Lucas also helped with marketing and did there an internship. So a lot of CODE startups also write in a university. We have a channel where people post in jobs where you can apply. And also while you study, we have a lot of people who are working, doing like a working student job. And so working at a site or in general is more than welcome, and I think nearly everyone is doing it if they don't do their own stuff or own startup. And the best thing about it is what you learn there and what you do there in your job, in your internship, you can pass your exams with it. So this is again the concept of CODE which makes it so unique.
Yeah. I would even say, I mean, because you mentioned internship, for me internship is always kind of connected, depends, but often connected also to work for free, just to learn. Many fellow CODE students that I know, they get paid pretty well even for working student positions, because they already bring a lot of valuable skills to the table that sometimes even master graduates from other universities don't have, because they just have to learn the practical skills after graduating, and here we do it as part of the study program, as the core part kind of.
Yes, then question IPS. I don't know your real name. Can you unmute yourself or write it in the chat?
Mic does not work, or?
We can't hear you.
Then maybe we can
just type it into the chat if you.
Yeah. Also, in general, we have gone through like all the related questions. If there anything more they should.
I think it also works well with the time-wise.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any other questions, if you do, raise your hand or write it in the chat. Otherwise, we are actually through everything. Aaron. There we go.
Yes.
I don't have a highlight.
No. This time it's another question. So I lost briefly the connection, the audio connection, and you talked about internships. So are the internships mandatory, or do you also forward the students to internships? So do you help or consult with connections or otherwise to get the students to internships?
Yeah. No. CODE is kind of, I always like to say CODE is pure freedom, there's a lot of freedom as a student at CODE. working practically and working for a company or building your own thing is core part of the learning experience here. So there is nothing like a mandatory internship that other universities make that force you to go somewhere. This is just like part of the program that you actually do real stuff. You can either work doing studies somewhere at a company if you don't decide to build your own thing. And many students do. And they're already earning quite well while studying even. So some of them use also that to finance their tuition fees.
Yeah.
You mentioned that some modules consider this working experience as passing the module.
Yeah.
Did I got that right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, how does the assessment work at CODE? That's a very good question, actually. It is by showing off what you have done, basically fulfilling the learning criteria of the module. And that is usually by just showing off your work. That could be from your job, or that could be from your company or your project. Doesn't matter, you just show off the work assets you've created, that you reflected on it, basically what went well, what did not went well, what did I learn from it, and this is basically how assessments happen here in big parts.
But I guess that's not true for all modules, because in the curriculum from the software engineering track, I saw that you also offer linear algebra. I cannot imagine how
There's
to
exceptions,
improve
of course.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're really rare, these exceptions. So you found them, but most of the modules you can pass with work.
But for linear algebra as an example, because I back then thought about taking it because I thought, why not? It's funny, it's interesting to me. It is also not that you memorize all the stuff and throw it out in the exam, but it is also basically showing the professor that's going to assess you that you understood the concepts. So it's also, again, kind of different. Not you get like any task and you like now pass it like in high school or at any other place. It is really still kind of understanding.
So does CODE has like grades or rather not?
In some sense, yes, because it's forced to by law, but it's really not a thing that matters here in the environment. And also talking about degree maybe, because it's also connected to the grades a little bit. I mean, during my time at CODE, but also after, in any professional sense, I was never asked for my degree because I could show off what I'm capable of, what I've already done, and basically my portfolio that I've created during my time here. So I think that's valued way more than any grades.
Yeah, and it's already like, I think it's already a brand also to be a CODE student. So like when I'm in the Berlin ecosystem, like, or a German ecosystem at least, and maybe it's even going further than that, but it's really like, okay, as a CODE student, you get, I think, easier into job interviews. I think you get easier into these like venture capitalists will listen to you. Like I think it's a brand itself, and nobody of these people will ask you, okay, like what degree, like even if you're just an active student, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
Right. Definitely. So it's even not even starting. Do you have a diploma? Sorry, not diploma, but a degree from CODE? But really, like, are you a CODE student? And usually that's enough.
I mean, giving an example for the VC, I don't know who in the call knows Y Combinator, but it's considered one of the best accelerators, kind of startup programs to get into it in the Silicon Valley. And there have already been quite a few founded startups that got into it so far. Probably they meanwhile recognize that people from CODE kind of get a small bonus in the process of getting investment from them, possibly.
And I think every year there's at least one startup going to Y Combinator. So you will always find one startup which is coming from CODE there. Okay, why is CODE not showing in any official uni rankings online?
Because I think because you're not interested, right?
How many citations?
I mean, I don't know. I think there are some like I think there are some initiatives now to really like to get into it, but the thing is, like who do you attract with it? Who do you attract with the ranking? I think you attract those people who go to university because of the external status it has. I think I would recommend that to CODE, right? I would recommend not to force like us to show up there because otherwise, I saw this also at HHL or so, and when they went up the ranks, people then go there because of that.
what you mentioned earlier.
Because they get the stamp, you know, and they're kind of like, okay, you know, like you are from HHL, you know, like, and they get, and they just do it because of the status. And I think that is already, that element is already, you know, as I said before, right, there is a lot of status element already. So why do we need like to really show up in these rankings where people especially look into to really like, you know, to get confident in a way. So no, I think I would be very happy to just, you know, like get enough students without being in the rankings. and the problem is the following. I think the problem is a thing. All of these rankings have standards where to look at, right? So they have like a KPI system that you have to fulfill. And my experience with KPI system is just, it's the worst if you try to put reality into a KPI system and you orient your actions, you know, to fulfill KPIs, because you go away from real value creation and you go to creating value for the outside to show up, right? Don't do it. Really, like, you know, like I don't know, at one point CODE might decide differently. From my perspective, I would just don't care. Don't even apply.
Okay.
I think time is almost over, or do you think you can still answer this question here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty simple one. How does a double bachelor work? How many % do you have to be overlapping to get the double bachelor degree? And what if someone else needs 1-2 semester longer? Double bachelor work, I mean, I personally didn't one in the end. I just nearly did one. But a friend of mine did it. Maybe some of the audience here did a double bachelor. No. There's a lot of module overlap, yes. And in the end, you of course have to write 2 theses, I think. But in terms of modules, you can kind of combine a lot of things, as far as I know. For the study time, yeah, I think it's billed per semester. Yeah, that depends a little bit on the payment, terms you choose later on. But yeah.
But why do you want to do it? Right. I mean, you know, you take the modules that you like, you know, whatever, right? Yeah. But I don't think it's so much about the really about the degree, you know, but really about like what can you learn from it, right? Yeah. And I think that you can do anyway, whatever, right? Whatever structure you have.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's more expensive because you have to, if you really write 2 theses, you have to pay 2 bachelors, not fully amount twice, but you know, take.
Is it still the same? Not sure.
I think maybe.
Yeah, but. Yeah.
Just take the modules you like in the time you study here, and you're good to go.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
I think
you have to wrap up.
Yeah.
We have to wrap up. Yeah.
Then thank you everyone who's actually also here in the audience and in the live streams in the call. Thank you, Rolf, for coming here and answering all the questions. And if you want to learn more about CODE, just go on the website. You can find more there. And
all right, Julian, some of you might be in WhatsApp contact with him. He's sitting in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. If you have questions, just write. Otherwise, any last words from your side? Go apply.
go and apply. And you know, as I said, you know, I think you can sort everything out later. But you know, if you have the chance to get in, try it at least.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. Goodbye.